Tune in now.
So we each had our.
Your girl Michelle C, aka DJ Make a Move. Tune in now.
So we each had our.
Your girl Michelle C, aka DJ Make a Move, is a part of another podcast. Tune in now.
So we each had our.
Your girl Michelle C, aka DJ Make a Move, is a part of another podcast, Opposing Perspectives, with three of my great friends. Tune in now.
So we each had our.
Tuesday is gonna be the one for me.
Somebody
This is
put a
why
question
Michelle is still in the position
comments.
she's in.
The older you get, the more you like appreciate your alone time.
True.
Okay.
And then you build that into your everyday, right? Somebody asked a question though. Did you see it?
Yes. Good question. Do you think getting advice from a seasoned married couple could be helpful, or do you just keep everybody's opinions out, period?
Let me answer that. So,
Go for it.
I was just gonna say that personally, I believe that when you get married, you should have a mentor married couple.
Yep.
Like some people who have been through some stuff, you know, like can navigate you through the waters of some normal stuff. You know what I'm saying? You know, with the exception of, you know, he's beating me, what do I do?
Right.
You know, like just some normal stuff. Because I want to because if you don't define what normal is, people think that
That's true.
normal. It's like, nigga, he's burning you with a cigarette, just leave. All right.
Again, we have taken a very.
And why do people keep saying let's normalize this? Like, stop normalizing everything. Like, some shit is really crazy.
True.
Yeah,
I agree with you, though. I agree. I think you need to have. I think having role models, examples, positive. Like I said, opened up with having healthy models of behavior. Are
Healthy.
Especially if you didn't grow up with that in your house.
Absolutely.
Because I didn't grow up with folks that was, you know, the model parents or whatever. So I purposely had folks in my life that were my mentors. I think what the problem gets a little rougher is when if your person is not willing to like receive or is not used to receiving, you know, like we're not used to no shade to women, but most women don't have mentors as opposed to like a guy with a mentor. You know what I'm saying? So when you talk to a woman and you say, hey woman, these are the people that I listen to them too. You know, it could be a
work out that way.
It might be your delivery.
Yeah, that was terrible. So, and Andy Ritchie, to address that question on the other side, I agree with them. You should have some people that you can kind of look to as a model, but a lot of times that's really just them telling you marriage is not going to be as simple as you think.
Right.
But you still have to be careful with who you listen to, because there is no formula. There is not always a right answer to every single question when it comes to marriage. So you still have to create your own lane, create your own marriage the way you want it to be. Because what I've learned is there's a lot of couples out there that look like they have it together. But when you actually get behind closed doors, they don't know what they're doing either.
Right.
We're all figuring this thing out. There's an old deacon that used to be at our church, and my dad looked up to him. And my dad was like, how do you stay married? They've been married for like 60 years or something crazy. And he was like, I don't know. He said, every day I'm still figuring her out. And this is after 60 years. Like, it's preposterous that people think you're going to get married for like 3 to 5 years and you're just going to know each other and everything's just going to work out. No, 10 years later.
Yeah.
If you're always growing and evolving, like you said, Sean, you may not even be the same person you are now as to when you got married. So now you have to get to know me for who I am now.
Right.
So you're always trying to get to know each other. And I think that's good, because when you stop growing together, when you stop getting to know each other, things kind of get stagnant.
Yep. And
you might start getting bored. You might start getting tired of each other, annoyed with each other. But if you keep getting to know each other, so many things. But if you keep getting to know each other, you keep having new experiences, you keep doing new things, you keep it fresh, and your marriage can still continue to grow and be happy and fruitful.
Well, the truth of the matter is there is no guideline to life, period. Like, there's no right or wrong way to do. I mean, you can try to do right by life, but I'm saying there's no manual to say, if you do this, everything will work out right. That's just not going to happen.
It's a risk. I think that's what's hard for people, because marriage, relationships, and all things, there's a level of vulnerability that's required of you and of your partner, and it puts you at risk. And that can be scary. And I think, to your point, Tay, it's a really, really crucial that you invest in your marriage. It's not just working and it's flowering, you know, watering the garden as it's growing, right? Like it's continuing to put and pour into it. And I think, you know, on the flip side of that, back to the question around like, you know, seeking the guidance of others, I think it's also important. It's how you seek that guidance. Because I think there's a fine line between using people as a sounding board and then telling all your business because you need a validator, or you're looking for someone to tell you that your spouse is this or that. You know, I think there's a level of like, you have to be careful of how you utilize that people in that space, because not everybody's good at that. Not everybody can provide advice. Not everybody is good. To your point, some people are really just figuring it out. So you may not even have any real clue as if they're really a good example for you or not. So you have to really get to know people. And that's the same level of investment in a relationship that you would do with your partner. Like you invest in your friendships, you invest in your circle, you invest in the people around you. And I think you have to do a level of that so you're not abusing, you know, that path. Because I've been on the receiving side of that, where someone was like, well, I talked to my mentor and they said this, this, and this. And I'm like, your mentor doesn't know me from Adam. Like, what are we talking about?
There you go.
Like,
So, and nobody can know all your
business.
business.
Tell them what I did. Did you tell, you know,
Exactly.
which is why counseling was helpful, because that was a neutral party that didn't have any investment. But I think when you pour into other couples as your model and work as in a collaborative space, and that can be very beneficial to you to have, again, a sounding board. But there's a fine line between that, you know, taking a turn that could be detrimental to your marriage too. So be careful.
Well, I think that, you know, first of all, there's bad mentors, just like there's bad counselors, right? I've had whack therapists before too, right? I had this lady, like, she started like burning candles and like throwing sage at me. I was like, oh, I'm good.
The exercising demons?
Yeah.
I
was like, this first session is free, right? Yeah, so I've had some weird experiences too, but I do agree. I mean, I do disagree that majority of life is like kind of the same. Like a lot of our problems that we like really like bang our head up against the wall. A lot of older people that figure that shit out. Like I was with this weekend. We had breakfast with my wife's grandfather's little friend group. So it'd be like us right now at 90 years old. Really, there was a friend group. We just went to breakfast with them, and one of them was 96, another one was 95. Most of them were in their 80s. We were just asking them different questions about life. Now you were getting some like, you know, we're just trying to figure it out. But it was some like, you know, stop eating this shit, you know, young boy. You know what I'm saying? It was like, you know, it was some very like concrete, I figured this out at 89 years old. You know, a couple of the guys have been married for 60 years. You know, I mean, so I actually do not think life is that complicated. You know, especially if it's like things like money issues, emotional issues, anger issues, things like that. You ask somebody a little older than you, yeah, you'd be surprised on how quickly those issues are like diffused.
Yeah, because they just happen to wake up the next day.
No,
that's not it. That's not it, Michelle. That's not it.
You'll say something to somebody at 90 years old. You'll say something like, "Man, I just can't stand my wife. I can't stand my wife." And he say something like, "Well, do you want to be with her?
Right.
Do you want to be with her 20 years from now? Do you want to be with her 30 years from now?"
They know what's important, and
they
I think something
important.
with age, you can get to the root of something more direct.
Exactly.
And some things you realize it doesn't matter.
You know, manifest all these other things.
So that's where I'm at. Like I like talking to older people because it really puts things in perspective. You know, it's like I was just like having a talk with my wife, and I said, "Hey, you really got to be more decisive with me. Like I'm in business. Like I don't know what it means when you say I want to do this for 5 other things. What the hell does that mean? What do you want to do? You want to go to Rue or not? Like I don't even.
Right.
Like, what does that even mean? Like, you know, so like there's majority of life is kind of like predictable as hell, y'all. I mean, I hate to be that. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it's
so
like,
the answer to life is be very direct, but just be cautious of how direct you are, how you present your directness.
No,
but also some things just stop mattering as you get older.
Right,
Yeah.
and I think the moral of that story, again, it comes back to communication. Because like you said, I told my wife I need this, I need more from her to be able to do this, and she was like, all right, I can do that. I think when it comes to older people and their perspectives, I think it's because they've gotten to a place where things aren't as important to them as they were, and then they have value in other things. And I think there is some differences though. I think, while they're based things, the things that you will all deal with in life are the same. Like we will all deal with death. We will all deal with potentially financial issues. We will all deal with kids in some capacity. Everybody will deal with similar things. The element of surprise is that how everybody deals with something is different. And I think that is not something that's predictable. So I think that I would argue your case that yes, while the baseline problems are probably all the same.
I like that.
People are different. And I think, at some point, the generations before us dealt with very different things in their relationships than we had to deal with in a very different time than we've had to deal with. And then the generation behind us, as we become older people and start providing that mentorship and guidance, at some point we will be the people they look to for those things too. We will have a different experience because we've grown up in a different environment. And I think
some of these old folks, they had side pieces that had a whole family like up the street from them. Like now we deal with side pieces, but we don't deal with a whole other family.
It's a different street, Michelle. I don't even count.
But see, you could do that then. Now social media will tell on you. Social media, like my granddaddy wasn't all up in nobody DM. Like you didn't have those issues then.
You didn't have access to those things either. You didn't have 24-hour access to content. And social media aside, I just would just to say, as the age group that we are, the things that we've endured, like our generations before us, they had war. We've had wars. We've had financial crisis. We've had pandemics. We've had all things very similar to them, but on a much grander scale. And that's just our generation. Like. You got a whole generation of kids behind us that don't even know how to have real conversations with regular people. So they're not going to know how to have real relationships.
Yeah.
Because they grew up in an age where everything was digital and in your hand and you didn't talk to people. You talk to TikTok. You don't talk to, so I think it's going to be very different.
Real.
As you even see the statistics for marriage changing, I'm the research person, I'm the data person. Like even that is shifting. Women and men are waiting till older in life to get married.
Yeah.
They're not having as many kids. People
I
aren't
can even see somebody DMing a proposal now.
What?
I can even see people DMing a proposal now. Like that's how far removed we are from socializing each other.
Certainly
I'm just gonna hit up and see what you're gonna get married real quick through the DM.
That's funny.
That's like emotional intelligence has diminished. Social interactions have diminished. So everything has come down to this real short form media, like text message and short video, 15 seconds. Yep. Like I need a minute. Because I need some time to get, I need some background. I'm still from a generation where there was character development. Absolutely. Now you just jump right into it and it's boom, it's right there. So everything's quick, like, hey, you want to just get married? But then again, you got some of them old school folks that's been together for 20 years and was on the couch one day and was just like, you want to just get married or what?
Just do it.
Yeah.
But they had to have a conversation before they got to that couch, though. They was probably kicking it for weeks and months, whatever.
Will told me, that your uncle or somebody, one of you, it was either Will or Phil that told that story that was they just turned and looked at him one day you want to get married?
Well,
and they had just been living together for 20 years.
It's funny, but it's funny our generation will be in a relationship for years and not talk about
never
marriage.
Get married.
Yep.
Right? And no.
They're all married and everything.
But not even talk about marriage.
Yeah.
Right. And you'd be surprised, right? So like I do believe in the basics, but I think the basics can get you 60% there. Right. Like for instance, I knew a buddy of mine, I was walking him and helping him get through his divorce, showing him how to file and blah blah blah, and his wife was cheating on him and all this kind of stuff. And he's a smart guy, bachelor's, master's, professional dude. And I said, well, where'd you meet this girl? He says, well, she was the cashier girl at Walmart. So the first thing I said was, why would a person with a master's in engineering be marrying someone who's a cashier at Walmart? And he just paused and I'm like, that's something your grandfather would ask you if you had a granddaddy. He'd be like, why would you do that? Why? Or let's say the exact opposite. If you're a woman, you're having all this issue with your husband and there's all these financial issues, your grandfather's gonna ask you, well, why would you marry a guy who didn't know what he wanted to be when he grew up when he married you?
Right.
I mean, these are basic stuff, but we don't talk like that. We talk very flowery, Like, you know, you want a Lambo? Me too, man. One day, nigga. What is your credit score like?
But
Right?
it's
Well,
more men that
people
will
don't like to
date
have
below
difficult
their level
conversations.
than to match their level. I
Right.
can see many of men that could be, you know, the high value man, and they'll date the lady at McDonald's because they be like, we just want somebody that'll shut up and do what we want them to do when we want them to do it. So
Well,
it's
and I
almost
think
like
that
they're dating below what they need just because they don't feel like dealing with a woman that got her shit together.
Part 4 drops Monday. Stay tuned.